Okay. Good afternoon. This is Kathleen Dudley. I'm a holistic reflexologist, and I have been writing letters of exemption for people to not wear masks and to also today not have COVID tests and vaccines, and how we can stand up against this situation befallen upon us where the tyrants are truly pushing us into corners. I have with us today Monica Gonzalez and John Gonzalez. And thank you both for coming to this interview. And what we're talking about today is how do we stand up without capitulating in our employment situations. And the current situations seem to be complicated because employers understand how to make work complicated and not allow our rights to happen. And so Monica and John are both going to talk about their individual situations in their workplaces. And maybe Monica, you could start first if you wouldn't mind, and welcome again.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Kathleen, for having us here. It's good to be able to talk about this with like-minded people. So in my situation, my work is demanding of me to get letters of exemption and fill out ADA accommodation form so that I can be exempt from wearing masks, face shields, getting the PCR vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine, or the COVID-19 tests. And as we all know, this is against our rights for someone to try and force something on you that goes against your own bodily autonomy. So since my work is forcing this on me, I've looked outside. I've actually looked for help from Kathleen, and she was kind enough to write me a letter of exemption as well as fill out my ADA accommodation form for my work. However, now my work is backpedaling and retracing their steps, saying that this is not the type of accommodation form that you need. You need to have it filled out by someone else. And so every step of the way forward, it's a constant step back with them. And what I'm trying to do is kind of put a stop to it for not just myself, but for anyone else that's going through similar situations. I know I'm not the only one out there that has this demand being placed on them. I know a lot of places of employment are starting to make it mandatory that you get vaccinated, or that you go and you get a test bi-weekly or twice a month. I also know that anywhere I go in the public, I see masks everywhere. You go into a grocery store and then you ask an employee, they say their employer has made it mandatory for them to wear a mask. The fact of the matter is, it's not a law here in the United States. Nobody can write a law forcing someone to wear a mask, to get vaccinated, or even to get tested. So all these companies that are putting these demands on their employers are in fact breaking the law, not just by discriminating if you're not allowed into a store, but also in the Constitution, the Civil Rights Act, the ADA, I could list them all off. It's also in the US code based off of disabilities. I believe, I may have it incorrect, but I believe it's like US 14 code 12101 or something like that. I could look it up and then get you what I found, Kathleen, the exact code, but it's about discrimination and nobody is allowed to discriminate against you. And so I think we all should play our part, have our voices heard. I myself recently went into lovely Costco. I'm sure we've all had the issue with walking into Costco without a mask. I came in, I had it printed out, the California Department of Public Health information on the governor's order. And in that order, it does state exemptions. And I also had with me my letter of exemption from Kathleen. And I walked in, they immediately started asking me, where's my mask? And, of course, their face is covered. And so I asked, sorry, I can't hear you with the mask on. And she did, she took it off, which, they don't even realize the ironic part of it. She took off the mask trying to tell me I need to wear a mask. I told her I'm medically exempt. She said she needed to get a manager. And I said, that's fine. You can find me walking in the store. I'll be the one without the mask. And I continued. Unfortunately, when I was recording, somehow it turned off, of course. but I wound up figuring out that it was off later on. I turned it back on, recorded the rest of the time that I was in Costco. And then as soon as I walked out of the building, the manager harasses me carrying a face shield, like, here you go, have a face shield. First of all, I'm out of the building. And second of all, you shouldn't be coming up to me anyway. But I did my best to educate him, and it was still company policy, you know, no matter what law I threw at him. And I had a binder full ready of different things to come at him with. And in the end, he just, company policy, you know, we're not going to let you back in the store. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll still continue to shop without a mask. And I've also personally, I'm not sure if my dad's doing anything like this, but I personally started an Instagram account, Anti-Maskers Club of East Bay, California. And that way I can get reaching to people in East Bay, California. So surrounding Hayward, Fremont, Castro Valley, areas like that. There's a bunch of Anti-Maskers Club on Instagram. And I also started a Telegram link, a Northern California Freedom Fighters. And in that Telegram link, I do post information about vaccines, about masks, about government tyranny and company overreach. And the point of my starting all this is in order to get the word out, because I know there are people out there that are trying and they're being shut down by these big tech corporations. And so the more and more people we have getting the word out, we can actually start to reach more and more people who might not have the ability to access this.
That's phenomenal, Monica, because really what's at stake is since all of these actions by these businesses, the word is coming down from the top. They're the puppets for this unfolding of this communist, communitarian existence that we see ourselves in. And so when we stand in our power, as you do, a very empowered woman, and refuse their tyranny, they really don't know what to do, because they're just taking a cookie cutter approach of what they've been told. And they really haven't been told what to do. Do they tackle you? Do they, you know, what do they do? They don't have the next step, because they're used to people just going, oh, give me the shield, give me the mask. I am so sorry. So you're an enigma to them. And the more enigmas that we have, the greater the opening of that massive door that we need to open and hold open, so that these tyrants don't have any further overreach that they have today. So, you know, congratulations for your strength, for your courage, and for setting the bar of how to do that, because it does take courage. And we need all the warrioresses there, along with our warriors, like your father. And did you have anything further you might want to add before we go to John?
Sure. Power is in the people. When people realize that they are the ones that are in power, when they start to take off the shackles that have had them chained for all these years and stand up to not only just the government tyranny, but employer tyranny everywhere you go. Once people realize that they have the power to release themselves from these shackles and, in a sense, step out of the cave that is talked about in Plato's Socrates, and that, if you know what I'm talking about, it's something that's big in philosophy as well as politics, Plato's cave. If you know what I'm talking about, please look it up. If you don't, now is the time to step out of the cave and to exit out into the sunlight, because together we can fight back, and we don't even have to do it using any violence. It could all be peaceful, because this is a spiritual war, and they want you to change. They want to see violence in the street. So if we do this nice and easy, take off the mask, they can't do anything about it once people learn that and actually stand up for their rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Very, very well said. I'm excited to be standing up with you. Thank you. And John, you must be proud of your daughter.
I am very proud of my daughter. She's a good kid. I love her to death. Um, it's unfortunate that anyone has to go through any of this, to be honest with you. My work is different so far. I haven't had to fill out any forms or anything as such as my daughter has in her company. I have, though, been pulled aside into the management's office more than once, different managers, higher managers. Funny thing is, the one manager that started it one night, earlier, he was walking around with his personnel in the office without a mask on, and yet, you know, I have to have mine on the other side of the window. But most of this is just not understanding. Okay, you have to push sometimes as an individual. We wouldn't have gotten to where we are today in society if there wasn't some push going on. Obviously, we would not have made it out of Plato's cave or out of the caveman's cave if we didn't go out and take a risk. Ultimately speaking, at my corporation, it is a Fortune 500 company. It's been around for over 100 years. I do believe that the founder of it would probably be quite irritated with how it's become. That is my opinion. It probably is not shared by the management or the corporation. That being said, I am one of the higher paid individuals that work for this corporation by my duties, and I take great offense to the corporation and upper management dictating that I must wear a mask while I am in the building. Obviously, it's against my rights and my beliefs. But it was told to me that if, and I'll try and quote it as best as I can, because it's been a while, but it had struck a bad tone with me, which I had further discussion with my manager afterward. But the fact of the matter is that I was told, because I was a higher fish on the food chain, that if the lower fish on the food chain saw myself and my fellow higher fish wearing the mask, then they would think that it really needs to be done, because we're showing by example the fact that it's needing to be done. And well, if the higher are paid are doing it, then we must, you know, conform to it. I do not agree with that coercion. I do not believe in wearing the mask. The bottom line is, it is totally moralistically wrong and legally wrong for my company to demand me to wear it so that they can force the lesser paid employees to wear it as well. Ultimately speaking, everyone needs to stand up for themselves, and together, if we all band together, no, we don't have to fight. But obviously, if you see someone who's being harassed about a mask, and you're a fellow coworker and you also have the same beliefs about not wearing the mask, there's nothing wrong with you adding in your 2 cents, you know, respectfully to the manager that don't need it. Thanks anyway. You got to be willing to go home for it, though. You got to be willing to lose your job if you have to for it. These are all parts of the problem, that we have government entities, people that are making so-called decisions and claiming them to be law. Last I understood, the only one who can actually make law is Congress. Okay, not a governor, not even the president. Okay, temporary decisions can be put into place, but they have to be approved by Congress before they become law. And those steps have not been done in the state of California, nor at the federal level. We have.
John, I wanted to intervene at this moment and just ask you a question. Now, isn't it interesting that there isn't one state legislature in the entire United States, not even South Dakota, not even Oregon, not even Washington, not even California, where the state legislature has stepped in and passed a law to wear masks or to require the COVID testing or the COVID injection. I mean, isn't that interesting? That's a lot of states.
Well, I can just put it simply. The reason why that has not taken place is because everyone who's in legislature knows that if they had done such a thing, they'd be breaking their own laws that they have on the books presently. And when it comes to legal ease per se, you have to abide by your own rules. And if you go and violate your own rules, not only is the new rule null and void, but you can be brought up on charges for violating your own policies.
So and isn't it, I'm going to interrupt again, I'm sorry. So isn't it interesting that Governor Newsom even acknowledged that he didn't have the right to mandate. He just had the right to make suggestions. And yet there's been this coercion and this hierarchical oversighting that saying to businesses, now you are the ones that need to enforce this. So the corporations, the mom and pop stores, the businesses now are being given the artillery to force it upon individuals. So what do you think about that? I mean, what's your thinking there?
Well, for one, it's a false sense of security for any of the mom and pops or the corporations. And I would say, to be honest with you, I don't really think most mom and pops are going to be to that degree per se. They may tell their employees to wear the mask, but they're probably not going to get harsh on them about it. Whereas corporations are all about policies and you must. And the worst thing that I have found about corporations is it's always you must until it benefits them. They will break their own policies left and right. They will ask you to do things that break the law just because it benefits them. Okay, which in my opinion means that their policies don't exist. Okay, you can't ask me to follow a policy and then turn around and break it at your discretion because it happens to help you get something accomplished faster. Okay, the policy is there for a reason. You may come up to me and say that, well, you have to abide by it because that's the policy. Cool. Then why are you breaking it at your discretion? It's no legislature will take on that task. And I really don't want to speak politics, but I will say anybody who's paying attention, anyone who believes that your government officials have wronged you somehow, next election, get rid of them. Period.
Well, the power is in the people, as both Monica and you have said, and what we know. So it's that's encouraging, and it's also encouraging that you both, the educational aspect of this is obvious. You both understand your rights, and so many people do not. They will submit because they are being told by some other authority. There's an authority outside of us that people look to for their guidance, for how they live their lives. If we don't have that own inner authority, then we don't know how to live our lives. Would you both agree with that?
To some degree, either you don't know how to live or you flounder. Even that's living. It may not be a high standard of living. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is, you don't need someone to dictate how to put your shirt on. Okay, your parent did that when you were young. You are now self-aware to some degree. You know you need to put a shirt on, and you put it on. That's it. But that being said, if you're in your own confines or in your own property or even in the park, okay, you have the right to the space around you. You know, it's not owned by you, but it is your space. Everyone has personal space around them. What they do with it is their business. Okay. With regards to the issues at hand, you know, people keep on coming up with different numbers. And the fact of the matter is, if you're out in the blowing wind, what difference does it make? Okay. You've already been dealing with whatever's floating around for whatever time before whoever came up to you to say something. Okay. There's no big boogeyman out there that everybody wants to believe in. Okay. And they're believing it because they've been lied to, and they're not using their own education, whatever it happens to be, their own thoughts. Okay. Bottom line, open your eyes, open your ears, take a moment, think about what you see and hear, and live your life. You don't need somebody to come up to you and tell you you've done something wrong. I'm sorry, but you're not my dad. Okay. Leave me alone. All right. I have a right to my freedoms.
That's right. And you know, if we all did actually live our lives and understanding our birthrights and our own inner authority to breathe fresh air and determine what we do to keep our bodies and our minds healthy, and what we do with our children and our families. If we actually understood that and lived that, it would dismantle what's happening today. So I'm so grateful, John and Monica, for you both being willing to speak and tell us what is going on in your situation and share that with other people. And I wish you both the very best. And again, thank you so much for participating in this interview.
Thank you again for having us.
Jinx.
You must be my father.
All right, that's wonderful. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was great. That was really good. We have a remaining 5 minutes and 36 seconds. So yeah, that was really good. Monica, you're a natural speaker.
Thank you.
Well, you obviously have that incredible capacity, and John, you know, yourself as well. It's
I'm just too brash, that's all.
No, you're not. You're not at all. You know, I mean, you know, as I said before, you know, we need the warriors and we need the warrioresses, and you know, and we seem to be lacking in the men standing up. So I'm ever grateful. So we have another 4 minutes. So how do you want me to proceed, other than what we've talked about? Monica, what I presented makes sense to you? Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay. And John, anything that...
you can go along similar lines with Monica's. You know, I think, unfortunately, what's going to happen is that everybody's going to do similar to like Monica's company. They're going to take what you say and then turn around and like I said, redirect it a different way. They're going to keep putting stumbling blocks in front of you. So a full out frontal assault, though it may be good, is bad, because then you give all your playing cards out to them at one time.
Well, yeah, that's true, because yeah, and then they can shoot one down with another. Yeah. You know, that's one reason why I don't use the term disability in any of the letters that I write.
Because then they'll turn it around to saying that you can't do the job. Exactly.
So,
which is also against the law.
Exactly. But I don't want to give them that ammunition.
Right.
And so I always take that out of the exemption quote.
Well, that's why I try not to say a medical condition either.
I say medical reasons or health reasons.
Yeah.
You know, because really, you know,
it's none of their business, for one.
Exactly. And of course, it's very obvious that breathing is and inhibiting the breath and the exhale causes problems. And I mean,
Yes,
in its most simple manner, it's a no-brainer. But
it's a genetic code
yes,
that has been passed on by evolution or whatever you want to say. Okay. One of the
Yes.
first things you do is what? Breathe.
that's
And
true.
what happens when you stop breathing?
Yeah,
You die.
that's exactly correct. And they're well aware of that. They're well aware of that. Yeah. Well, okay, I'm gonna work on this, and I'll get to posting this in a while. Letters and all this come kind of more have a higher priority, and I still have some other posts I haven't put up on the platforms. But if you have any other thoughts, just let me know, and I'll keep you posted about Megan's experience with
Okay.
her response.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we're going to
And
get cut
other than-
off unceremoniously again, so we should just do it on our own and not let them do it to us.
All right. Thank you for the time.
You're
Thank you,
very welcome.
Kathleen.
All right, take
Take
good
care.
care. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.